For those of you who don't know me, my name is Indy, and I'm a survivor, and I am spending a lot of time these days helping people recover from religious and spiritual abuse, as well as domestic abuse and developmental and childhood abuse. One of the things that came up recently in our community, in our little healing community, not so little, we're actually pretty big, there's many of us, is this conversation around marital sex books in the Christian community. And it has really caused quite a ruckus with the survivors, because we know better than most people where the harm starts. We know the psychology, we know the nuances of where harm is perpetrated in the small things that lead and represent bigger things and more concerning on an obvious level behaviors and choices and belief systems. But something that came up recently was this idea I had when I was getting so worked up and angry about the harm that is being caused to the daughters of God through these marital books that are so filled with harmful messages about who we are, about our value in a relationship, in a marriage, and to God, ultimately. And it's WTF. What's the foundation? I know you thought where I was going with that, but yeah, WTF, question mark. What's the foundation? This needs to be something that we talk about more openly. It needs to be something that we question more openly, that we don't hesitate to ask the question, what is the foundation of your belief system? What is the foundation of the words that you speak when you are talking to anybody, but especially to those who are in situations where they're seeking counsel and help actively? There is usually reasons for that. If somebody is struggling, it's probably got a foundation of damage, harm, issues that needs to be dug up, unraveled, not covered over with pat answers and cliches and advice to just have more sex or be more generous in the bedroom. And that is from somebody who's very pro-sex. So I'm just saying that. I am not anti on any of these things, but I have seen the harm done to my sisters. I have experienced the harm myself, and it is really hard to stay silent, especially in a world where everything we say is being nitpicked apart and ripped to shreds by people who want to just easily dismiss us by saying, well, I'm not talking to you. You are talking to us. You're talking to the church. And we are a huge, huge portion of the church, whether you choose to acknowledge it or not. We are part of the church, and you do not get to dismiss us from these conversations by throwing in a little like, well, I didn't mean you. We are the church, and we get to be a part of these conversations, and our voice matters and our experiences matter, just like Jesus would have said. He told us and he demonstrated that the least and the marginalized and those hurting, he cared about deeply. He cared about their experiences so much that he sought them out, and he risked rejection and was even killed for his very questionable engagements with people like us who were on the fringe, who were being hurt and rejected, who had left the churches, the formal churches, or who weren't accepted in the formal churches. These things matter to him deeply. We matter to him deeply. And we're not going to be silent. We are going to talk. We are going to share. We are going to share our wisdom, our knowledge, our experiences for the betterment of the generations to come. We are going to share these things because they matter. We matter. You matter too. But as long as you're doing harm, you have to expect rebuttal. So when I'm talking about all of these different things, and I'm not just talking about marital sex books, I'm talking about anybody who is causing harm to people who are hurting, I will ask you, and I will never stop asking you, what is your foundation? Because it all matters. And if your foundation isn't love and gentleness of spirit and all the other fruits of the spirit, then we will have a conversation about that, or you can at the very least, expect us to leave some comments raising awareness about the fact that some of these things will and do cause harm. This is my first video, and I don't know if you can tell, but I'm trembling a little bit because these things are very, very challenging to discuss. None of us want to be engaged in conflict. None of us want to have these conversations. But for my daughter's sake and her daughter's sake and the future generations, we will. You better believe it. we will. And all the women who are still entrapped and enmeshed and entangled in toxic dynamics, we will speak up for them too. And we will keep calling to them, and we will keep putting the education out there to help them get set free. Because that is what Jesus calls us to, is a life of freedom, of abundant life, of beautiful and good things, not abuse, ever.